Alright guys, so we got some absolutely massive breaking news here as former President Donald J. Trump is now officially a convicted felon. So here from Politico, Trump found guilty in New York hush money trial. So some of the details: Donald Trump was found guilty on Thursday of 34 counts. In fact, it was 34-0. He was found guilty on every single count of falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, making him the first former president to become a convicted felon, which really is a shame because I think that there are plenty of felonies that you could levy against literally every single former U.S. president, but we move on. They say the unanimous verdict from the 12-person jury ends a 6-week trial in which prosecutors accuse Trump of orchestrating an illegal conspiracy to influence the 2016 presidential election. So that was basically the gist of what the prosecution had to prove. They had to prove that Donald Trump, improperly influenced the 2016 election by paying and falsifying business records to cover up this story about his affair with Stormy Daniels. And one of the arguments that Trump's team was trying to make throughout this is like, no, the hush money payments didn't actually have anything to do with the 2016 election. It actually just had to do with me trying to protect my family, and I didn't want Melania to get mad at me or something like that, which to me is like, okay, maybe that's kind of plausible, but also, come on, what are we really talking about here? I mean, just based on the knowledge that Trump had of what was going on, based on the testimony from Michael Cohen, based on all of the evidence that was presented during this trial, it seems pretty clear why they were doing these hush money payments. I don't think it was to protect the feelings of Melania, right? But they continue saying that Trump was convicted on all of the felony counts brought by the prosecutors, and as the jury foreperson read the verdict, Trump looked toward the jury box. After the foreperson finished, the former president stared straight ahead, appearing somewhat red in the face. Then, as the jurors individually confirmed that they agreed with the verdict, Trump looked back at them, ominous. It now falls to the justice, or the judge, Merchan, to determine Trump's sentence. The judge scheduled the sentencing for July 11th, so just over a month from now, 4 days before the RNC convention takes place. They say falsifying business records carries a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison, but because the crime is nonviolent and Trump has no prior convictions, any prison time is far from guaranteed. Merchan could instead opt for home confinement, probation, or a milder form of supervised release. Honestly, I don't think any of those are going to happen. I think he was found guilty, and probably the biggest takeaway from this is just that he is now officially a convicted felon, and the question more becomes, how much is this going to impact the 2024 election? I don't think that he's going to get thrown behind jail bars. I really don't even think that he's going to get subjected to probation, but I guess I could be proven wrong, and we'll have to wait until July 11th to see what actually happens. I think if it was any other normal, ordinary American, they probably would be facing prison time, or at least a significant punishment, but because it's Donald Trump, because he's a former president, because he's running for the 2024 election, I have my doubts on that, right? And we finish off with this. Trump is certain to appeal the verdict, a process that could take many months or even years. Meanwhile, he stands accused of additional wide-ranging criminal conduct in 3 other cases, 2 for subverting the 2020 election results and 1 for hoarding classified documents after he left office. And honestly, those were the strongest cases. This Stormy Daniels hush money case was pretty much the weakest of the 3. Right? So it's unfortunate because, as they add on here, none of these other cases appears like it's going to go to trial before the election day. So this case, even though he was found guilty and probably won't end up in, inside of a jail cell, this case was probably the only one that we're actually going to get the results of, the conclusion of, before the election, right? Which, again, extremely unfortunate and kind of annoying because it was the weakest, it was the least serious of any of the cases. And so, of course, Donald Trump, once again, not skating by because he was found guilty, but kind of skating by because he didn't have to go up against the much more egregious crimes that he's accused of committing. But now we get to Donald Trump outside of the courthouse with his reaction here, of course, spouting off about how the whole thing is rigged against him and it's a witch hunt, etc., etc. So let's watch this.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA And the whole thing, we didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know. I guess he's veering off here to talk about immigration or something like that. It's all the same standard rhetoric, everything that he was saying throughout this entire trial process. The whole thing is rigged. It's a disgrace. It's a witch hunt. This is Joe Biden personally coming after me to try to prevent me from winning the 2024 election. I mean, we've heard this all before. The fact of the matter is, you can make these arguments, political arguments, and maybe this will help rally your base around you. I actually just saw a post on Twitter. I don't know if it was real. I didn't have a chance to fact check it, saying that Donald Trump is getting, a massive influx of donations from his supporters right now. So it may help to rally your base around you, sure, but in terms of, this being, having some sort of an impact on the 2024 election, it's hard to say. Honestly, it's hard to say. But coming out here, during the trial, after the trial, railing against the judge, he's corrupt, he's biased against me, it's all just a witch hunt. Again, that may work for your base, but it's not going to work in a trial setting like this, right? When there's actual, material evidence that's presented by the prosecution and the jury has to, cipher through all of it. So I just don't think that his strategy throughout this trial was coherent outside of it, being, again, like a political tool for him, a campaign, advantage for him potentially. Now, you guys tell me, I mean, is this going to actually have a major impact on the 2024 election results? I mean, I've seen conflicting polling that's kind of all over the place. Some polls say, Trump getting convicted of any of the charges that were brought against him would have a big impact. Some other polls say that it's going to have literally no impact whatsoever. So I don't know. I flip a coin, I guess, as to whether or not this is going to be monumental politically. And the final thing I'll leave you guys off with here is that, it's just amazing to me, depressing and amazing at the same time, that we are the most powerful country on the face of the planet, the wealthiest country on the face of the planet, and somehow the best that we can do is like a walking corpse in Joe Biden, okay, who's in the middle of being complicit in a genocide, and then on the flip side of that, we have another semi-senile, at least, brazenly corrupt, now convicted felon on the other side. And then we also got RFK, who's doing God knows what today. So, I mean, it's just a depressing reality that, apparently this is the best that we can do in this, in this broken and, as Trump was saying there, declining country. So it is genuinely depressing that these are our two options. But I guess this is where we're at. So, again, pretty major update. Trump is now a convicted felon, and we'll have to see how this plays out moving forward.
Politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying